Turning now to an alarming new report about pregnancies, especially out in the South. It says that losing a baby at least 20 weeks into a pregnancy is more common in southern states than anywhere else in the United States. But why? Why are the odds of late pregnancy loss almost 3 times greater in those states than the rest of the country? It is such a painful question for moms like Ebony from Texas, who's been left wondering whether more could have been done to save her child.
Here in Texas, 5 months, well, my weeks specifically, 20 weeks, 5 days was not viability, so they don't intervene to sustain the baby's life. We have it difficult to help medical professionals understand that something is not right, that we are in pain, that we are concerned. We almost have to fulfill the narrative of an angry Black woman to get some attention, and that was my experience.
And her story is just one of so many stories like that. Just they barely scratch the surface. This new report found it's not just late pregnancy loss, but it looks like the South has a higher rate of postpartum depression as well. Joining us now is the lead author of this report, Dr. Venice Haynes, the Senior Director of Research and Community Engagement at United States of Care. Dr. Haynes, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for this report as well. Why are the numbers so much higher in these areas?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It is very heartbreaking, and it's so sad that so many stories like Ebony's are running rampant all across the U.S. But, when we looked at this report, we really wanted to take a broader look at the postpartum period writ large, because 2 in 3 women die during the postpartum period. And when we got into it, we really had to consider, what some of the lifestyle things that were happening around the country. But when you think about a lack of access to affordable and quality care, you have to consider the stressors, the high stressors that often happen in the South, considering that Medicaid has not expanded in the South, and that's where the largest abortion bans are. That's not a complete exhaustive list, but there are some very important things that we really need to consider for how women are needing to experience their pregnancy and their postpartum experiences.
And one thing that is so understudied, speaking of postpartum, and it's something that is underreported. You highlight it in your report, postpartum, what happens to the mother after the birth, as opposed to just focusing on the baby, and then postpartum depression, which the South has also seen higher rates of. Is all this a manifestation of the same problems here, or are there additional challenges?
I think if you can look at it holistically as manifestations. There's a lot of other things that we covered in the report, and I like to think about it a little bit more holistically in terms of the postpartum mental health we see in the South. That self-reported the postpartum depression rates are much higher than other parts of the country. But that feeds into what we also saw around the lack of information with perinatal health workers, and consider those to be practitioners, OBGYNs, lactation consultants, doulas, and the like, and understanding what is going on with their body and not having access to that information could be contributors to, high depression rates. The lack of coverage for postpartum services like lactation consultants and doulas, which are sorely needed, are not covered under general insurance and some insurance coverage. And then finally, postpartum loss, like if you experience that late stage pregnancy loss, not having the coverage and the supports to help and carry a woman through those trying times, all of that, if you think taken together, can contribute to higher postpartum depression rates. But we have to screen for them. We don't know if we don't measure them. So if we can address the lack of data to support that, we need to kind of think about all of those in totality as well to get a better picture of what's going on.
Well, your report is part of that totality, and bringing awareness to it is as well. Dr. Venice Haynes, thank you so much for your work, and thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or follow us on social media.